to the GREENPOINT Williamsburg News Magazine. Neighborhoods Today. In this edition, Michael LaVeglia will be joined by Democratic District Leader Stephen Cohn to discuss some news topics facing the community. Angel Cappellino pays a visit to the Pam Repertory Company in Williamsburg and speaks with Priscilla, Masonette, and Mary Alvarez about this new center for young community artists. Now let's join Michael LaVeglia with his guest Steve Cohn, Democratic District Leader. Steve is here to discuss some of the most important issues facing the community today. Mike?
I'm talking with Steve Cohn, who is the New York Democratic Committeeman for the 50th District, which covers Greenpoint, Hasidic and Italian Williamsburg, and Fort Greene. Hi, Steve. Welcome to Neighborhoods Today.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We invited you on the show to talk about some of the current relevant issues dealing with the Greenpoint Williamsburg community. What would you say is the most immediate, serious issue that you're involved with in the community?
Well, the most pressing issue is an issue that we read about in the newspapers and see on TV all the time, and that's the issue of the homeless. And unfortunately, the 50th Assembly District has far greater share of this problem, both in the Fort Greene area with family in the Brooklyn Arms Hotel, and of course in the old Greenpoint Hospital, which the mayor has now made one of the largest homeless shelters in the city, with over 1,000 homeless men.
How did that happen that Greenpoint got more of its share of these individuals?
Well, when it gets real cold and there's no place to put homeless people, and the city enters a consent order to provide for the homeless, they need space. They fill up the armories, then they look for other space. They find a vacant hospital site with 6 buildings. It's a space, it's shelter, they can comply with a court order, and they are warehousing many men, having tremendous impact on the neighborhood.
I see. So because there's the room, that's where they're going to get dumped in a way.
Unfortunately.
And what effect has it had on the community?
Horrendous effect. I think it would be important for leaders, city leaders, to come and visit this community and see how the 31% increase in crime has affected the community, how homeless men urinate in hallways, expose themselves to young children, mug little old ladies as they come and go to the shelter. And it's having a devastating effect on a very hard-working, middle-class neighborhood.
Yes. So what action is being taken? Are you trying to decrease the number of homeless people in the community?
Well, we've protested. Guido Cianciato is a very active member of the community, marched for day after day, night after night, to call attention. At that time there was at least some dialogue with the city. There was a stabilization of the number. Now the number has gone way up. They're even talking about bringing in some mentally ill homeless. So Councilman Gurgis, with the support of all elected officials, is working on introducing legislation to make the mayor understand that not only can't you have 1,000 people in an armory, but you also shouldn't have 1,000 homeless people in a hospital site, in any one site. And we're having legislation introduced to limit the number of men to 200. We've also had state legislation introduced by Assemblyman Lenthal and Senator Connor to create a fair share program, that each community should take its fair share of the homeless population. So if you provide homes for the homeless and give them a reason to get back into society rather than warehouse them, perhaps we can start to bring a solution to the problem rather than just use a Band-Aid approach.
Right, exactly. That was my next question. Do you think that what they're doing in Greenpoint Hospital is really having any helpful effect on the individuals who are there? I mean, from their point of view, are they being helped? Are they getting better? Are they being Is there any benefit to them, do you think?
From what I've been told, and I visited the site a couple of times, for some of the men, they have a work program, they've gone out to work, they're trying to reestablish themselves into the society. But for many, many don't even want to go there because of the crime on themselves in the shelter. So I don't think it's having an effect. I think it's detrimental. You can't house 1,000 men on cots in huge dormitory type space and have them back to integrate into a society. It's not working.
Right, so that's definitely a situation that needs to be handled in a more effective manner.
One of the major situations in the community. Another situation, of course, that we read about all the time, and it's just as potent here, is crime, crack, drugs. And again, we've had legislation introduced through Assemblyman Lenthal to try to cut down on crack sales around school areas. We have had help from the city, from the mayor, a realization of the need for anti-crime police to come on, do bust and buy operations, try to clean up Kent Avenue, Franklin Street, some areas in Williamsburg that lie between the Hasidic area and the north side, where there's tremendous drug activity.
So the mayor has responded then?
Responded.
Have there been more police officers put on beats or whatever in the areas?
Well, I have to give the mayor credit in that, for instance, the 94th precinct that was renovated, we kind of held his feet to the fire, but they gave us a commitment that they would renovate and reopen. And many people in the community thought they wouldn't. But they honored that commitment, and we now have a new precinct. And we've asked for additional police, and we've gotten some additional police. We have a program that used to be the Cop on the Beat program, and it's now been reinstituted, and there are 10 additional police in the community taking care to see who the storekeepers are, who the people are that belong in the community, and it's a good program, and especially effective in this community.
Right, good. While we're on the topic, it is the belief of some of the individuals in Greenpoint that the Koch administration, or Mayor Koch himself, possibly may have a personal vendetta, if you will, against the community. Is there any validation to these feelings?
Well, I think that stems from the fact that my suggestion to the mayor would be, come and talk to the community. I think the mayor feels really in his heart that he's a tough man and makes the tough decisions. And his philosophy is, not in my backyard. Nobody wants a prison, nobody wants homeless, nobody wants mentally ill, nobody wants these type of things. However, I believe in people, especially in this community. They don't say, don't give us homeless, they say give us fair share. We've even provided programs to deal with homeless people. And we've said to the mayor and the city fathers, we'll take a resource recovery, an incinerator, but don't make us the experiment. Let us be number 3 or 4 of the 10 you plan to build. Don't make us the number 1. Go to a less dense populated area. And I think that the mayor has to have more of a sensitivity to what people want, what people need, that people do care. For instance, private donations in this country account for most of charitable donations, not governmental support. So people are helpful, people do care. So I would urge a more sensitive approach. I think perhaps it's time that the mayor said, not how am I doing, but how are you doing? How can I help? How can we have a partnership to solve many insoluble problems in this city?
Yes.
And I think that would go a long way. And unfortunately, many elected officials, especially as they get to a high level, become insulated. They don't ride the subway. They don't walk the streets. They run from helicopter to limousine, and they lose touch with the everyday problems in the streets.
Yes, it's a good point. You mentioned the resource recovery incinerator. Can you tell us a little bit about what the situation
Again,
is?
just as homelessness is a major problem in crime, garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The city produces an inordinate amount of garbage and it has to be disposed of. Unfortunately, once again, city fathers came up with a solution, what they deemed to be a good solution, that's incineration of garbage. We've since learned that that creates dioxin. can harm people, can poison people. But the city has gone ahead with a proposal to build 10 resource recovery or incinerators to burn upwards of 3,000 tons of garbage a day. And unique to this community, they're planning to build one on one side, which is in Maspeth, and one on the other side, which is in Hasidic Williamsburg. Yeah. Although the smoke will probably affect more central Manhattan than it would this area, the idea of having 2 incinerators in such a densely populated area, I think is wrong. And like I said before, the community said, we'll take one, but don't make us the experiment.
Let me ask you, would there have been any other alternatives besides an incinerator? Is that the only solution, or? Well,
there's a bill before the City Council now that talks about recycling. And that's something that the city is going to have to go to. You can't do it all at once, and I don't think you can recycle all your garbage. But one of the methods, the Cecchini method, is a separation method. It's working in Oslo, Norway. It's working in Stockholm. And I believe they came to the city years ago and they said, look, we'll build this separation plant for you. Just give us a contract for per ton garbage. Instead, somehow the city went ahead with the Board of Estimate and they voted to spend $10 billion to build incineration plants. I don't know why.
And you mean it wouldn't have cost them a penny?
It would not have cost the city any money for these plants to be built. The Cecchini people or other people would have built them because they get the money from separation and recycling. And there would have been some burning.
Yes.
But it would be better to have 1 or 2 incinerators doing the burning of what's left than putting up 10 incinerators in the city.
Right. Right. Another issue that's, I'm sure it's a problem in every community, is housing situation. How is the situation in Greenpoint, Williamsburg? What are the problems?
Well, Greenpoint is unique in many respects because there are a lot of 1- and 2-family houses.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful community that it's almost like going back 40 years in the city. People are close, neighbor cares about neighbor, they're protective of each other, and the housing is tight. You have a lot of people coming in from foreign lands and they need places to live, especially in Hasidic Williamsburg. Yes. Where, believe it or not, the population doubles every 5 years. Hasidic families have between 7 to 10 children, and they don't want to move out of Brooklyn. They've made a life for themselves in Williamsburg. They need housing, and there has been no new public housing built for dozens of years in the city. The federal government that used to build 20 to 30,000 units of housing is building 2,000 or 3,000 units of housing. In the 50s, they were building hundreds of thousands of units of housing.
Yes.
So what are we having? More and more luxury housing being built in Manhattan, closing SROs, putting more homeless into the outer boroughs,
yes,
creating a greater housing crisis.
Right.
It's sad. And again, I ask people, city fathers, elected officials other than myself, come with me. Come to an apartment where there are 7 children, 5 sleeping in the same bedroom, 2 sharing a bedroom with their parents. It's a bad atmosphere to live. Is it as devastating as being homeless? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe yes. Certainly, it needs looking into. Unfortunately, once again, I think that the city is reacting late. They're now talking about creating housing, doing something about housing.
Oh, well, that's positive. That's positive.
But you've got to, it's a positive step, but you have to plan long range.
Yes.
And that's very important.
And you're one of the people who is very, very vocal in trying to make them see what the situation is exactly. I mean, to help them.
Yes, and to help them fight with the federal government to get stupid guidelines out of the way where the federal government is willing to reimburse the city or the state to keep a family in a homeless shelter rather than to pay market rent to put them in an apartment.
Yes.
And that's not the mayor's fault. They were locked into that. And the mayor was locked into that. But that's something that he's lobbying for, and other elected officials, I believe Senator Moynihan, Senator D'Amato, are lobbying to change those rules and regulations.
On a lighter note, somebody told me to ask you, what about the tulip bulbs, Steve?
Tulip bulbs. We have a wonderful group in Greenpoint called the Green Oaks, and they raise money at functions during the year to do a Christmas party for kids, to have a garden, to make Greenpoint really green, beautiful.
Yes.
And what happens in a city government the size of New York is that most of the tulip bulbs wind up in front of the Supreme Courthouse or in Battery Park, and it's hard to get. So the elected officials, we go in there all the time. We're calling Julia Spiegel, who's the borough superintendent of parks, and we say, hey, we want some of those tulip bulbs. And we fight for them, and we get them.
Good.
I wish we can get as much housing as we can get tulip bulbs.
Yes.
Another problem we have here is potholes. Get calls all the time. People don't want to know about nuclear deterrence. They want to know when they're driving their car down Wither Street, for instance, that they're not going to break an axle. So I've been fortunate in that I don't know the commissioner, but I know the guy who sends the tar trucks out in the morning. So he'll call me every once in a while and say, well, what streets do you need paved in your neighborhood? And we kind of get them done pretty quickly.
Oh, that's great.
And
that's the pothole connection, kind of like, right?
Oh, it could be an investigation.
Oh, okay, we better scratch that then.
But it's a legitimate caring for the people. And again,
Yes.
people in this community especially, if you get a red light or a light put in for them, if you make sure that the sanitation enforcement is fair and not inequitable, so people are not receiving tickets for being 2 minutes late on alternate side, if you get their potholes filled, if you try, not always succeed, but if you're out there on a picket line with them, fighting with them, working for them and with them, they love you for it.
Sure they'll love
They
that.
invite you into
They
their
recognize
homes,
that.
and they make you feel great.
Yes.
And I think that's unique to this community. But it's a wonderful feeling to make you want to serve. And I'm proud to say I've served for 7 years now without pay, and I love it. I love the community, and it's my way, hopefully, to get a little closer to heaven, is to do work for the community. And I'm enjoying doing it tremendously.
Well, it's obvious that you do love the community very, very much, and that you've been doing a fine job, and the community is very, very happy to have you on their side. Just keep up the good work. Before we go, I just wanted to mention that in case any of our viewers would like to get in contact with you about any of the issues that we talked about or other issues, they can write to you directly. Is that right, Steve?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure.
You can write to Steve Cohn, that's 16 Court Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11241, Suite 2304. And that's about it. Thank you for
Pleasure. I enjoyed
coming
it
here
very
today
much.
to Neighborhoods Today.
Thank you very much.
Continue the good work.
Thank you.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, oh, you're so
Life is passing by so fast. Say
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
All communities need an outlet for young artists and performers to express their talents. Priscilla Masonette and Mary Alvarez did just that. 2 years ago, they started the Pam Repertory Company in Williamsburg. Angel Cappellino reports.
The Williamsburg Bridge. To many here in the Williamsburg community, this bridge is their only link to a world where they can find creative fulfillment. In a community made up primarily of working class, poor, and the homeless, there seemed never to be enough of time, money, or interest in the encouragement of local talent. Well, that is until now. Thanks to the hard work and the passionate love of the arts, 2 local women found the haven for the many young community artists. Who knows, one day that Williamsburg Bridge will come to represent not an escape route, but a gateway to the creativity and the talents of this rich community. Priscilla Masonette and Mary Alvarez started the Pam Repertory Company 2 years ago. Performing first in neighborhood Knights of Columbus halls, they finally found a home at the St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Here, in the Boy Scouts meeting hall, they created a working theater complete with lights and dressing rooms. What started out as a small community repertory company has now grown to space not only theatrical performances, but dance recitals, music concerts, and visual art exhibits. Recently, I met with Priscilla and Mary. They were preparing for their next production, which will be Dracula. I was curious to find out not only how, but why did they take on such an enormous array of cultural activities?
You asked me why I chose theater and why, you know, I'm working in theater. It's exciting, it's stimulating, it's very challenging. I think that those three words explain why I've chosen theater. That's, you know.
No, I think why, meaning why everything, like art and music and dance and...
Variety is the spice of life, they say.
You just love it, right?
That's right.
Is that it, Mary?
And theater is not just performers or actors on stage. It incorporates everything.
Everything.
Music, lights, everything.
So it's what you do for love.
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay, but how do you afford to do this? Let's get into the practical side of this.
Okay. Initially,
where do you get some of the money?
We started putting in our own money. A group of us got together and we put in money from our own personal savings. And we also had fundraisers. We had a Halloween dance and a Thanksgiving dance. And now we're filling out the grants. So that will help us along.
Yes. The grant. Now I know you just received a grant from BACA, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you go about doing that.
Well, we had gone to several places trying to find out about grants, and we spoke with our assemblyman, Vito Lopez, who's given us help from the very beginning of this. And we went to BACA. They're located on Eastern Parkway in the Brooklyn Museum, and we filled out an application, a re-grant. They have seminars throughout Brooklyn, and that's what happened. I mean, it took us some time, and we're supposed to be getting some money in the near future.
Oh, that's great. So that's BACA at the Brooklyn Museum on Eastern Parkway.
That's right.
Okay, because I think the staff of Neighborhood today may have to take a visit down to Eastern Parkway and see what we can do. All right, that's interesting, and that's very helpful. All right, so let's get into the first production, okay? When things, you didn't have much money. I mean, first of all, where did you get your talent?
We put ads in the newspaper.
The trade papers.
Yes,
backstage, showbiz. Okay.
Yes.
So you did utilize people from Manhattan at that time.
Yes. Also, as well as local talent, which, seeing that we're in Brooklyn, we also wanted people within the neighborhood to participate, and not just actors. We also had technical people working with us.
When we first started, we started in the Knights of Columbus in their hall.
Right.
We used to hold rehearsals there, and then through again the community people, they helped us locate St. Paul's, and we're using the Boy Scouts hall. We've changed the space to a theater.
Definitely changed things around here. Okay, so who are some of the people now you met on that first production? Because I think that's how it really snowballed. Because you met, let's see, who did you meet first?
We had Malcolm Snellgrove, who does our lights, Joseph Zitt, who composes music, and is also working on some Angel Systems himself.
Yes, Angel Systems. Because I was going to bring that up, and you also, that also brought you in contact with Annette Guando, who
got us in contact with you.
And that got me in contact with having a beautiful space for my art show.
In December.
That was great.
And again, we had a wonderful turnout for that. We had a lot of community people that now know about us. And I mean, the talent that's come to us, we're now preparing to do Dracula in May.
Yes.
So we've got a lot of people.
I'm getting the feel of it right now.
We've got a lot of people that have joined us in the past. We've been doing it for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And
I mean, we can just sit here and talk all day because I love this, but I just want to thank you. I want to take this time to thank you from everyone from this area for the wonderful opportunity you're giving us all. And also to wish you, of course, continued success and to future art shows in June. But until then, I want to tell everyone out there, if they're interested in Pam Repertory Company, you may be an actor or a technician, please send your photo and resume in care of Neighborhoods Today. Also, if you would like to donate some money, you can do the same. Also, you can donate some coffee mugs, so we'd have some coffee here. So, so again, I want to thank you for joining us and allowing us into your home.
We want to thank you for having us. We really appreciate this, and we've got a sweatshirt for you.
This is wonderful.
Now
Look at this.
I'm there, remember.
I've been waiting a long time for one of these Pam Repertory Company sweatshirts. Oh, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so from Neighborhoods Today and the Pam Repertory Company, have a good day. Oh, this is great. I love it.
I think it should fit nicely.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Angel, that was an interesting report. Priscilla and Mary mentioned that their next performance will be coming up soon. Do you have any further information for our viewers?
Yes, Dick, in fact I do. I have some very useful information, such as, when is it opening? Okay, Dracula will open on May the 11th. It will run for 2 consecutive weekends, and it will close on May 21st. However, if you want further information, you can call the theater at St. Paul's at 718-417-6383. And I think it's going to be quite a fantastic show. They have some very interesting special effects. Well, I'll be there. Dick?
I would like to say that our own Michael LaVeglia will be starring in The Shadow of a Gunman, an Irish play by Sean O'Casey. It'll be shown at the GREENPOINT Savings Bank on the weekend of April the 22nd and 23rd at 8 p.m. That's it for this edition. For Neighborhoods Today, I'm Dick Mahan. Thank you for watching.